All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining us for the first Open Match community meeting of 2021. There's nothing on the agenda at the moment, so this could be a very short meeting. It seems like John is typing something about release, which oddly enough is what I was going to ask about. So, John, would you like to talk about release?
Yeah, sorry, I'm in two meetings at the same time. So the release is underway. Yeah, I'm in all hands. So the release is underway. Currently we're dealing with some issues. With some testing issues. We're hoping to resolve it pretty soon. I'm looking into it now that I have a little bit more free time as well. So definitely we'll be messaging back and forth, trying to see if we can, find some type of resolution to these issues. But that's what it currently is at the moment.
Is this something that you need help with, or somebody to do something, or?
Oh no, I now that I'm I'm going to be working on it a little bit as well, but I believe Alex and team are also looking into it as well.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else folks want to share or talk about? Anything cool going on the Unity side?
Let me think about that for 1 second.
We've been on a
yeah, we've been on a 4-month or 5-month march to kind of refresh our closed beta, which is complete, feature complete, on Monday. Sorry, the days blur together in this phase of development. And so for this community meeting, we are deploying more OpenMatch instances to customers next Tuesday. And we're actually finalizing our total complete migration the following Tuesday. So all of our customers will be running on OpenMatch. That was delayed from our previous update because we had to do a Kubernetes cluster migration, which for live matchmaking is a challenge. We could probably write a paragraph about, things can be ephemeral, which is nice about matchmaking, but that doesn't mean that doesn't make it seamless, I would say. However, what that does do is we're going to have a push for multi-tenancy as our main theme going forward, which means we're going to have some engineers come back through and open up OpenMatch and try to figure out how to add partitioning, possibly some hero constructs like developer pools or something to OpenMatch and get those feature specs out there. So I've briefed the team, and we've got, I think, 1 or 2 engineers who'll be stepping in as part of our core product goal. So it's actually aligned, I think, for the first time in a while that's something we're doing. So awesome. That's promise of future engagement, but yeah, that's kind of the next big thing that's coming up, and that will be our roadmap for the next 6 months, I'd say. Is to go in and push partitioning in OpenMatch. So that's gonna be the next focus. Other than that, when we finish the migration, I'll send up a flag that says all the case studies we've published are now running OpenMatch.
Well, that's exciting.
Yeah. Otherwise, I don't think there's really any major updates. I think we had a bug in backfill that I need to send Andy around, Alexander to talk through, but I think it was just we had a process that died that there's this interesting honeypot behavior, but we can take that to a technical discussion since this is the community meeting.
It's awesome that you said that, because I was literally going to make some sort of snark about we've been in this meeting for 5 minutes and no one's mentioned backfill. So yeah. I think, as far as any additional conversation that you want to have around that, everybody's here. So
I don't have Andy here. We're in a ship week, so Andy is focused on getting one of our tens of matchmakers sort of fixed up, prepped for a dry run. We're freeing up our managing matchmakers can take a lot of time, and operating them can be a drain. So for everyone in the community running matchmakers, it's hard. keeping them up is hard. They're very custom. If you have customers that are using the custom functionality, you've doubled your pain. If you're the one using the custom functionality, great, shouldn't be too bad. Freeing yourself up to go work on more features, just in terms of general engineering, is you got to prioritize that sometime. So that's what we're doing. So we're hoping to have some agility to come back through and actually do some open match work for the next 6 months.
Well, again, Alex, looked like you, again, on the backfill topic. Alex has got some stuff. Anybody else have anything they want to add to the agenda? Otherwise, Alex, go ahead and let's talk backfill.
Yeah, so I just want to tell John that currently the flakiness of the tests not yet resolved. I cannot get the exact expectation date when we can do this, but yeah, we are trying to find the reason why probably some tests are running in parallel and causing this. So I've bit switched to requests of how to do how to make Backfill ID accessible from the game server, and other documentation and like tutorials on how, for example, we can use Agonas with Backfill, and what director changes are needed, what MMF changes are needed, because currently, for example, today we discussed with Andrew that MMF actually should always update Backfill, not only game server, so that was not mentioned, and that's why, yeah, thanks to him, I will add this into the docs. And this what I working on is propagate Backfill ID and other stuff. Just want to have some game server like simple UDP, which has some acknowledge or stop acknowledge methods, which allows to do some manual testing, like see how it goes. I think I can use another open source project, which was by, let me check. So here already a very good project I will add from Daniel Oliveira. So Agonas with OpenMatch, and also Scott's project, which also about this. Yeah, that's probably it. So any questions on this? We can, yeah, definitely for documentation, it would be more updates coming, because it's like hard right now to see what MMF does, what director should do. Some like corner cases, for example, when Backfill is created, how we will allocate game server, and then what MMF should do if game server already allocated, for example. So like this switches. And with this, I mean, things like manual tests and some example game server would be good, at least for me, to understand that we are not missing something. Yeah. Right now we have only scale tests. I have one demo of 2 Backfills. It's similar to Getting Started demo, which is not yet in PRs, but in my branch, I will make a PR soon. So we have scale tests, end-to-end tests, and this demo of drop-in with 2 Backfills. That's it, how we have tested this.
How has your performance gone with backfill?
Yeah, we have reports.
Testing.
Yeah, we have reports. It was done by Dmitry, so I definitely push this link forward. Performance tests. So the idea here, we and the request was to gather assignment time to assignment. So, and we have created, for example, 2,000 backfills. So again, I will post just to these documents, scale tests, measurements, and metrics. There was some 8 seconds delay before assignments come to these tickets. So then, yeah, more information would be from Dmitry. Actually, I just was, yeah, the one who like started tune current scale tests in order to add backfill, then pass over this work to Dmitry. Yeah, and this is the reports. So actually, there was memory leak test, by the way, which Sean asked us to do, and we have like run for 5 hours, for 8 hours, sorry, and it was no reasonable changes. I mean, to consumption, to memory consumption, CPU consumption. So we have not recognized any memory leaks so far, and the only memory leak was in the watch assignment, and there was a PR just today about how we can treat like closing context, etc. Yeah, so this PR already there with the test.
So we share the same kind of the heart of our backfill design, because we had an early circumvention of the OpenMatch backfill design. Should lend well to us trying it out at some point. So maybe in a few weeks, probably the earliest, because we're gonna have to support this release we're doing, but sometime in the 3 to 6 week time frame. So maybe with the next release of OpenMatch, we might be able to go ahead and try flipping a bit and getting some of our stress testing that we do internally to run on the OpenMatch backfill, and maybe we could get a sort of like apples to apples comparison on how things are going. And at that point, might even be able to help identify or squash any type of bugs that come up.
Yeah, so that would be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had like constant not peak performance, like number of ticket requests per second was 100, and then in the backfill, yeah, actually we did some tests on like 2,000 backfills and a half, and then with the same ticket request per second as 100 requests, and 5 minutes for test.
Oh, so I was muted. Okay, so that was 100 tickets per second for 5 minutes from the front end.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we have pending release timeout of 1 hour, which is not, I think, the real per value. But for the tests, actually Sean asked us to do like happy pass when there is no delays, for example, between acknowledgements of backfill before these acknowledgements. So we have that's was no like delays. So it's like a good scenario. And this comes from PR. PR has reproduce since steps to reproduce is in PR. Hopefully that would be fine for at least release notes or something
Do we have any community question? Is anyone either onboarding to the new backfill or have plans to use the new backfill in the coming months as part of the next release? I know we have the initial justification for backfill, which was we needed help for backfill for someone from the community had a need for backfill, but I was wondering if anyone else was gonna hop on using it and could help provide that sort of like multiplicity approach. Because otherwise I guess we're gonna wait a few weeks until we can sort of take a shot at it. Okay. And that's probably what I expected. So we'll try to get that second look in to try and have that kind of like circle back and then log anything else that's missing. It sounds like a ton of awesome stuff has been done though in the backfill space. If we're finally to the sort of the end-to-end testing, I will go read those reports. And are those going to be put up as issues, or are those going to be checked in as performance documentation?
Right now, there is a PR with steps to reproduce once it would be merged. There is some targets like making style scale chart, I think, and some then yeah, we can add more to original issue. I don't know if OpenMatch.dev needs this.
Yeah, it's interesting. For folks that come hunting, they're going to want to know how we have some of those initial performance reports. I know Scott and John, I'm not sure where those are at the moment, but expanding them or maybe making a section for these for folks who want to come in and discover what OpenMatch does from a size perspective would be pretty cool, especially since we've done all this work to produce the artifact. So for the next, go ahead. Sorry.
I know that, by the way, Andrew, I think, started writing MMF, so I got some feedbacks from him. So it was useful.
Cool.
Yeah, I agree that we could probably add a section for some probable steps on setting up scale tests and probably some findings that we currently have at the moment, and anything that we can find or share within the community probably possibly be added as well. So we can look into it.
Sweet. If there's not more about backfill, was there any other agenda items? Scott, any updates on your end?
No, I've just been doing code reviews for backfill.
Cool.
It's all about backfill.
It is like half of the feature set of a matchmaker. After the custom match logic game design,
yeah.
There's a one-sentence description of all the cool things OpenMatch does. Great. Well, if there's nothing else.
I was gonna say, is there anything else that folks want to cover or talk about, or any questions about anything?
I guess as one last thing, I am following up with the Cloud Run team. They had some ideas about OpenMatch and Cloud Run, so I'm providing some feedback with them today. Hopefully by next week we can have more conversation around what Cloud Run needs or what changes need to be made to OpenMatch that wouldn't break anything for developers who want to use it.
You can tell them PRs are accepted.
Yeah, that's really cool. We've talked about control plane style features for actually managing the MMFs, and Knative at the time wasn't quite ready, and we kind of called it a 1.1 style problem, but then we 1.0'd and didn't really relaunch the idea. Feels like that's a cool conversation to go chase now.
Yeah, that's actually where I'm at right now. I tried to do like the full shift of everything over to Cloud Run as much as possible. Mm-hmm. So gonna push that feedback, but as of right now, it looks like the MMF for Cloud Run seems like more of an option. So that's something I'm going to be exploring in the coming weeks.
That'd be super cool. I know there was some community member who is looking at Knative, like they were already using Knative for their MMFs, but it was an internal. My understanding was it was kind of an internal thing, so they were using it for their own management versus it being like a control plane feature of OpenMatch.
That was his. Okay. I've currently sort of butchered Knative out of it, and
Okay.
running them as regular Kubernetes services, just balancing a few different things in the cluster. Knative, Istio is all starting to get a bit messy. So, but yeah, like theoretically, there's no difference other than the management stuff that you get from Knative, obviously.
Yeah, there's the 0, but then there's the scaling on request density is interesting. What's kind of weird about match functions, MMFs, is it's clearly a compute bound problem, not so much a request bound problem. So what I never understood about Knative was whether or not you could still bind scale on compute usage versus just having a sort of when web requests activate, spin up to a certain number of web requests, because the compute can just vary depending on what the function's processing, right? And that was something I never quite understood, was how Knative was going to solve that, or if it was like built in. But by the way, that's also how we run it. We run them as Kubernetes services, kind of just generic, very vanilla. It makes management easy, because like you're just operating it the same way you're probably operating the rest of your cluster if you're in Kubernetes.
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious. I mean, and we can probably stop soon after this, but maybe an interesting topic for folks to think about, or do a little soul searching, is like, do you need, as a person who's using OpenMatch, do you need a control plane for managing matchmaking functions, or are you very comfortable going it alone? And if folks had opinions, or someone wanted it, because you're not interested in operating sort of match function management, then that's something that OpenMatch can maybe have an opinion or convention for doing, or even a plane or API for doing it. So if you're seeing this on the internet, for next time. Otherwise, like it's hard to say whether or not it should be the next thing to work on. Backfill is clearly the important thing, and we're going to go do some partitioning stuff because we would like it. So pull requests welcome for any other things, but also feature requests or issues. There's
Yeah,
the
we can. I was gonna say we can always, do it in Slack as well, and in the mailing list too, of just like, hey, what features are people interested in, things like that.
It's been a pretty active actual Slack now that we're kind of talking about it. A lot of people client side, so in the game domain, trying to figure out how to use OpenMatch to achieve a sort of like mature services ecosystems, the way I would interpret it, but without necessarily having, like, OpenMatch isn't exactly batteries included, because it's intended to sort of be like a service backend infrastructure. And so maybe as OpenMatch sort of reaches a sort of maturity and there's fewer things we can extend, we start talking about the ecosystem and other ecosystem projects we need to stand up.
Mm-hmm.
Because otherwise I just don't know if, I think that's going to continuously be a conversation that folks want to have, is I'm making a game and I want to use OpenMatch. And our answer, the answer to that is like, build a service, build like a game backend service, and then put OpenMatch behind that. It still works really well, because I think for folks in the industry, we know we want to grab it and use it in our services, but for some people, I don't know if it's the right answer. And I think that's becoming more and more of a question. Scott's definitely been in the forums a lot. So if you're out there, we'll continue to do our best. And there's a few heroes in the room, I'd say, worth calling out, who have done a great job answering as many questions as they can. The best I could say is we talk about it, especially here. So if you want to come here and talk about it, let's do it.
My dog had opinions on backfill, but she said she'll file an issue later. So my dogs have opinions on everything.
Get them a webcam to join community meetings.
I need to get them their own, because let's be honest, they're the real stars of any meeting. So
You were doing some database evaluation work at Unity. Did you guys
Yes.
get anywhere with that?
We got to the point where we had an Aerospike DB stood up, and we had a Enterprise Redis stood up, and we were trying to figure out if Redis search was going to be a good answer for what we currently have as a sort of problem, which is the Redis is currently the bottleneck throughput. We're very much in a technical discussion of it. The one sentence summary is it's unclear at this point if it's just about replicating and scaling because all the functions need access to all the data all the time, and we constantly need to resnap it, and therefore there's like a network throughput consideration. Versus in a partition world, a match function could actually hold several 100,000 tickets in memory and operate over those very quickly. And so one of the discussions we were having is like, well, we've taken this opinion, which is we have a global pool or partition pools, and everything needs to be able to be stateless and query state in and then lose state. But that's actually kind of inefficient and has a ton of bottlenecks. So is there a compromise you make where you can make this functions more stateful, kind of like what OM query does, and sort of maybe there's two modes you can put it in where tickets can actually be pushed to functions as part of a partitioning strategy, and therefore the functions can operate super fast. How do we, as OpenMatch, sort of enter the domain of understanding more about match functions and maybe prescribe a way that the database enables faster matchmaking as a practice or as a pattern? So basically, we're going to check, full disclosure, we're going to check the databases, see if there's like a more obvious choice to like kind of remove the need for like an OM query type of thing, which is a custom query database cache. If there's something we can do with OM query to make it, exponentially more, make it horizontally scalable in a partitioned world and still have decent throughput, or maybe even consider a type of mode that we could add to OpenMatch where we actually enable functions to understand partitioning natively in memory and actually like have a way for them to subscribe to ticket queues and hydrate tickets into memory and maybe even achieve another layer of scale on top of that. So three-phased approaches we're going to investigate and hopefully come up with. We're definitely going to come up with like a backwards compatible, but possibly achieve another level of scale for OpenMatch. At least achieve partitioning, which is a type of scale, and maybe push for a little past that. But we basically paused it because we needed to. The dev team wasn't getting access to the problem. We were getting stuck in operation hell. So this release this week is what gets us out of operation hell, and then we're back to feature development starting in about 2 weeks. And partitioning is like the first thing, so we're gonna go tackle that.
Cool.
And I'm pushing. Guillaume's gonna join, and we're gonna have him kind of do it in like the OpenMatch open way with like the issues that we're all used to doing. We're gonna try to bring that out of the Unity corporate wall type thing that I know is there, right? It's always there, but we're gonna pull it out of that.
Yeah, I mean, we're partitioning at the moment a little bit on the cheap. So essentially every ticket that comes in, we pull a value out of our JWTs and stick that on as like a value to shard on. And then we, on the pool side of things, do the same thing. And then you basically filter all of the tickets for the different identities that the system knows about.
And do you have like logical partitioning, like you have multiple databases backing those key hashes, or is it just a query mechanism at the moment?
It's literally just a query mechanism. It's like I say, it's done on the cheap. So yeah, the partitioning definitely is something we'd be interested in.
Yeah. Okay.
That's not performant really.
Right. Yeah. We do kind of the same thing. We're going to try to see if there's like a type of feature that OpenMatch needs to expose to enable partitioning as like we could just say put a partition key in and you're good. We could also define a type of configurable thing where it can dynamically create partitions, right? Like group by build version type language. And so maybe OpenMatch understands partitions as a sort of like it knows how to build partitions versus just having predefined partitions. If we have that, then like problems like this become very, very horizontally. There's very little configuration you'll have to do. You just have to define the rule that describes how partitions are built, and you'll be done at that point. But that very much depends on what type of database we're able to put up. So hopefully that gets easier with this change. And it'll still be sort of like on the cheap is the idea.
Yeah, like for us, it's a bit of a weird one because sometimes, like for example, something like crossplay, some games will have it, some games won't. So if you wanted to partition, you're going to have to do it in a reasonably flexible way because you might want to partition for a title, but you might also want to partition for a title on a platform.
Yeah.
So.
So far we've identified sort of 4 tiers of concerns for partitioning, and they're very short and simple to enumerate, so we can do that. There's partitioning by like title or project or game. There's by platform. We immediately get into sort of like optional, like cross-platform. Some of them are grouped together, some aren't. And then by like game mode, or maybe you have a global pool, or you have a multi-select style where you can actually enter multiple queues at a time. So also another optional one. And then the last one is sort of like version of the game group by concept, where like you're now talking about compatibility between clients or like having the right DLC. Can you know, effectively those are like string and maybe an integer match or something like that. Can you express a partition by saying, hey, group by platform, group by mode, group by build version? And you'll end up with 16 partitions that kind of change over time, that can grow to 18 or grow down to 4, depending on your current development cycle. That provides you, each one of them kind of gets its own dedicated time in the matchmaker realm. And maybe there's a world where OpenMatch knows about that kind of rule concept. Today it has pools and filters, right? But it assumes a global pool. And so what if we didn't have a global pool? Well, maybe OpenMatch can understand a way to break apart pools that is like a really easy to work with convention that maybe solves your current partitioning ID. So then you just pass some metadata in that you don't even really have to understand, and it can know what to do with it. That, or you just pass in a partition ID and it figures it out, and everyone has to build their own dynamic partitioning approach. I'd be curious to hear if anyone has a preference, and we can sort of like drive our development towards one way or another. But we can also talk about it in the next tech steering meeting, and we can maybe present the formal options that they're easy to understand.
Sounds good.
Great. I have nothing else. Everything okay on your end, Ish?
Sorry, I couldn't find my unmute button. Yeah, honestly, we haven't. I'd like to eventually look into the backfill stuff, but just haven't had the time right now. So hopefully eventually, but it's probably not going to be for a few months. Everything's working great on our end, so it's kind of a if it ain't broke kind of a thing right now.
Yeah, I've been playing, and bragging a little bit here and there, but it seems to be going pretty well as a player.
Cool. Good to hear.
Okay. If there's nothing else.
I just was thinking, anyone tries to create to use OpenMatch in 2 different namespaces? I mean, install it. I tried, but no luck. But I have tried on the. I mean,
we haven't quite hit like 100 yet, but we have several tens of them running in one cluster across namespaces. Is there a particular question that?
Yeah. So you
mean
mean multiple OpenMatch cards and every new one in a separate namespace, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's why I think I just missing some config. Okay.
Yeah.
Some
I think
parameter.
I don't think we're using. I want to say we've rendered out the Helm chart into like vanilla, into like Kubernetes YAMLs that we might have touched or manually manipulated. We're trying to move back to the vanilla Helm chart though. So if the vanilla Helm chart isn't working, I don't think we're launching any work to move back to that, unless there's a new feature in OpenMatch, which we're going to be developing. So we're probably 8 weeks away from being able to help with that question on our side, because we are going to go back to the vanilla Helm chart, but it's going to be a little while.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But it's definitely possible. I don't think we've changed many settings. I can ask someone how many settings we've changed, if that might help. But I'm pretty sure we changed the namespace and that was it. And we changed some resourcing, I think.
I was just thinking about like a separate namespace with backfill, like MMFs and some namespace with OpenMatch without it. Just for example, to integrate it like one by one or step by step. But yeah, I will try this, I think. Okay.
Okay. If you know, in a few days you're still not making progress getting it running in multiple namespaces, throw up a Slack message and I'll tag one of the Unity engineers who has made it past this point, and we can figure it out. We run with our development in QA and CI/CD, we run hundreds of OpenMatch instances in our clusters at any given point in time. So, and they're all in different namespaces and in several environments.
Yeah, this is great. Okay, just want to check this. Okay.
Sure. Okay. Well, do we do 4 weeks or 2 weeks or 6 weeks?
For releases or meetings?
Meetings.
This is always the last Wednesday of the month.
Great. Well, next month is a little shorter. So is it 3 weeks or 4 weeks? Nah, we'll figure it out.
It should be on your calendar. I
It
wasn't
should be.
prepared for a pop quiz, Caleb.
My tabs are suffering from I can't see the icons anymore.
February the 24th.
Sorry, what was that?
February the 24th is our next meeting.
I have the equivalent of when you accidentally see someone's desktop and it's covered in icons. I have the tab version of that going right now, which always hurts to see, and it always looks like that whenever you present anything.
You need to get one tab, and then your life will be easier.
That or I heard tree style tabs is pretty good. I was thinking about switching to tree style tabs.
Oh, I haven't looked at that. What's that?
It's a left nav pane that it allows you to read the titles of the tabs, which is nice.
Have you seen tab groups in Chrome?
I have not.
Yeah, you just like right click it and say like I want a new group, and then you can put a bunch of tabs in there and then compact them down when you're not using it. Nice.
So perfect, isn't it? Just going through all of your browser windows and closing the tabs down that you no longer need. It's like a Friday job. Just go through, like, oh man.
For me, it's a last Thursday of the month job.
Not only do I have a bunch of tabs in Windows, but I have like multiple different windows. So there's that too.
Oh no. I try not to mix tabs and virtual spaces or virtual desktops. It's too much.
Yeah, no, I have a lot of Chrome open. So, but I did just change all my monitors around to try to make it a little bit easier to read and keep track of things. So.
Yeah, and I gave my like Chromebook to my father, and he just used guest mode, and he liked it very much. It's like no extensions. It's very fast, and he always start from a blank page.
Ooh.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh,
all right.
Well, I have new tab extensions to download. So.
We always learn something in these meetings.
Yeah, it's kind of like the life pro tips on Reddit, and the running joke is like the real life pro tip is always in the comments. So it's kind of like, for us. What's everybody playing video game wise? Anybody playing anything fun?
Yeah, I was playing Cyberpunk and like finished first act, and it was like some kind of virus, or it's very common, like a coronavirus. Yeah, because this girl suffering from something. Yeah, it was crazy stuff.
Any game breaking glitches that you've encountered so far?
Just when a guy wants to use some like nail or some kind of chip, and he just have instead a gun. Like he entered a gun instead of chip.
Oh man!
But it was 1 or 2 times I saw this cinematic. It's not always, but sometimes.
Jeez. I'm playing Trackmania right now. The arcade time trial 30-second race lap game with really, really wonky physics. And I'm enjoying the heck out of it.
I've never heard of this.
You've definitely seen videos of it, I suspect, on the internet.
Yeah.
Some pretty crazy maps that just like cars flying everywhere. But the game itself is kind of a little 30-second track, sometimes multi-lap arcade game. It's really fun. It scratches that itch of like, I kind of want to perfect something, but I don't want to spend like an hour on speedruns. So it just allows you to do like little speedruns.
Yeah, I'm not. This looks interesting. I will totally race you in real time in a car. I'm not so good on the virtual one. In fact, I have. My son gave me this mug, and he addended it with at Mario Kart. So because we would always play together, and I would always lose because it's hard. But I will totally win in real racing.
That is a special kind of burn, familial burn.
Yeah, I raised him, so when he's a smart aleck, I only can blame myself. So, that does look interesting, though. I've just been playing a lot of Final Fantasy 14 because over the holidays, friends were like, "Hey, we should totally do that thing we keep talking about doing and getting back into Final Fantasy." And now I'm obsessed again because that's how it gets you. So, yeah.
I thought you were gonna go a different direction with that. And you're like, yeah, our friends are saying we should finally get together and talk and share each other's virtual company. So I play Final Fantasy 14 and escape that responsibility.
Nobody wants to like hang out. That's weird.
Oh dear.
No, in our Discord, we do have one person who lives in Australia and New Zealand, and so every once in a while, he'll be like, "No, I can't play tonight because I'm going out with some friends." And we're like, "Show off." Pandemic flexing is a thing. So yeah. It's been kind of quiet game wise. Is there?
I was gonna say I've been playing one round of Spelunky 2, rage quitting, and then restarting it 10 minutes later. Just in a loop.
I think someone said Sea of Thieves has an update coming out this week.
There might finally be enough content in that game that I can hop back in and play.
We do have a group on Discord if you would like to join us. You are in that Discord, so.
I am in that Discord.
Bike Shedders?
Yeah.
Bike Shedders, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I shouldn't knock the Sea of Thieves content train. They have an amazing content release cycle. So if I have offended any Sea of Thieves fans, I apologize. I have a lot of friends that play a lot of Sea of Thieves.
Apparently there are cats you can like adopt in the game now. So, and dogs as well.
Finally.
So like, let's be honest, that's the thing we're really all playing for. So M said she bought a cat in Sea of Thieves and now can walk around everywhere holding a cat in my arms like they're a baby. left click pets them, and right click holds them out in front of me like I'm proudly showing somebody, look, it's a cat. This game is perfect. So simple pleasures these days.
If you're gonna play at me, and I might join.
Okay.
Andrew, I think you're going to submit a game. Maybe I misinterpreted and interrupt.
No, I've not really been playing much recently. I've got so much that's queued up. I think the next thing for me to pick up is the DLC for the last Pokemon game. We have some
opinions on that. I can guarantee it.
Yeah, we have somewhat a Pokemon household. So like my kids are in at like the right age for Pokemon, totally. So yeah, my the eldest can tell you like what region the Pokemon's from, how much it weighs, what moves it can learn, like the everything. He's like the living encyclopedia of Pokemon. To the point where I actually go to him and say like what's the best move set on this or whatever, and he just totally knows.
Rattle it off. Yeah.
Yeah, just straight away.
That's awesome.
Well, I actually need to hop. I mean, I am gonna grab a coffee and take a bio break before my next commitment. But I just want to say I always enjoy these meetings, and I'm looking forward to the next one. And April, thank you so much for organizing these, and for Scott and John for having a sense of organization around sometimes putting things into the into the community discussions. Same for you, Alexander. So I just want to say I appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, yeah, thanks everybody for joining, and thanks for all the hard work, and we will chat again soon.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
See you.
See you.
Bye.